Happy Friday, guys. Allincrypto here, and welcome back for another YouTube video. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be your daily cryptocurrency market update. And as always, there's a lot going on that we're going to try and cover in the crypto space. We're going to be looking at the next ETF approval deadline, which is on Sunday, which is 2 days away. Now, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on this and actually why I think that this is unlikely to get approved. And the reason being is because of Cathie Wood's comments herself, and I think she kind of hinted at this, that actually the likelihood is that ETFs get approved they approve multiple ETFs at once. And if you look at the first deadline for the likes of the iShares Bitcoin Trust, the Bitwise Bitcoin ETP Trust, the Vanik Bitcoin Trust, the Wisdom Tree Trust, the Invesco Galaxy Bitcoin ETF, the Wise Origins Bitcoin Trust, and the Valkyrie Bitcoin Fund, they're all occurring in September. So we may have to wait. And actually, typically in the markets, the end of August going into September is quite a bullish time. And that could line up with kind of where we see volatility and a little bit more of a squeeze for Bitcoin, which could result in a little bit more boring price action. But what I am going to tell you, even though this price action has very much encouraged me to bang my head off the wall, that is a joke, by the way. You've got to be careful what you say nowadays. There's good and bad news in this, and the good news is eventually this is going to lead to a move that's going to have a lot of momentum behind it, and this is all happening right around that key level of 30k, which I think is encouraging. It doesn't have to be to the upside, and actually where we'll probably start things off before we dive into the ETFs and all the other interesting news, a little bit of macro news in here, is with actually looking at historic volatility. And looking at what happens when you're at this kind of point. Typically, when you're this low down, you get some sort of a move with momentum. It really pees me off how the Bollinger Bands did that, because it kind of ruins the whole chart. But you're going to get a decent break here, in my opinion, potentially. And we've actually likened here to being rather similar to where you currently are. You know, after the sort of March 2020 incident, you know, you could potentially be in a similar situation. But let's talk about it. Let's bring the Bollinger Bands on, and then we'll get into everything else. So Bollinger Bands are basically similar to, well, not really the sort of historic volatility. They basically track volatility. And you can see that when your Bollinger Bands squeeze, typically, this kind of squeezing of the Bollinger Bands, it's like, you know, stretch it, or it's like squeezing a tube, you know, eventually it bursts and breaks. And you can see here, you had a squeezing of the Bollinger Bands, you got a big candle. Again, here you had a squeezing of them, you got a big candle. Back here, you had a squeezing of them, and then you had quite aggressive price movement. Again here, you know, here to the upside, not really so much here, but certainly here. Again, here you had a squeezing and constricting of them. Here you had a constricting. And of course, going further back here, constricting of these Bollinger Bands. It's kind of like a python. It's probably not the best way to look at it. But this is constricting, and this is going to result to a move with momentum. Now, is that going to be to the upside or the downside? Well, the Bollinger Bands don't really tell you that. However, if you went along and you used this, what is an orange line, as a kind of splitter, and you looked on a kind of percentage basis, when you're on the right side of this splitter and they constrict, typically that results in a move to the upside. When you're on the wrong side of the splitter, if you treat this almost as a moving average and you get that constriction, typically you find it almost as resistance and it's support here, if that makes sense. So resistance here, squeeze here, resistance. Squeeze here, resistance. This is when you were going into your sort of stage 3 into stage 4. You got a squeeze here, support. When you're on the right side of it, squeeze here, support. You did have a squeeze here, but that actually was a bit of pariah, but that's one out of a few. Again, you're on the right side of it, squeeze, support, and then its resistance here. So I think based on that, you could say there's a good chance that it will lead to the upside. Again, just going back to basic price action, we looked at actually the differences just based on basic market structure. You can see the direction of this market very clearly, and that it's a downtrend to the tune of Dow theory, quite literally, and even in regards to the pullbacks and the direction that they're in, and the grindiness of them, the grindiness of these. If we sort of flip the chart, just to really confuse everyone, if you were looking at this, what way would you say that this is going to go? My bet would be to the downside, which of course is upside in an inverted chart. So we are very bullish. We just think that maybe short term there could be a little bit of a flush out. There could be a little bit more of a kind of constriction in the volatility before you set up. But the Bollinger Bands, if you were to take anything out of them, the main thing you can take is there's going to be a big move coming. Then you could maybe look at on a kind of percentage basis, what way do you think that's going to be based on where the Bollinger Bands, based on where the price action is in relation to the Bollinger Band. You could be, again, here ready for a big market. And we know we have, could potentially be one of the most significant things to happen to Bitcoin in terms of institutional adoption on our doorstep. And actually on the 13th, which is a Sunday of August, we're going to get a little bit more clarity on that. Now, again, I don't actually think they're going to approve this. I think the likelihood is, if they did, okay, volatility showing us that we're going to see that upside. The momentum's going to be the upside. And this is all happening again around 30K, which is a very key level. We've still got targets, inverse head and shoulders, bull flag, that's taking you up into this price region here. We've also looked at volume and just how thin it is here. You're going to do that very, very quick. And that again, also, this is the thing about being somebody who analyzes charts and markets. When it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, when you've got multiple things showing you the same thing, and that if something happens, there's a very good high probability you're going to get through this very fast. We know there's going to be a momentum move coming because the Bollinger Bands are showing that. And on top of that, you also have your historic volatility that is at a low point. When it's been at this kind of low point, if you look historically, you've had momentumous moves on the back end of it, whether that be here, whether that be here, whether that be here. Again, you're at this kind of point, or at this kind of point back here. Big move, of course, big move pre, you know what, big move, going right the way back here. You always get big moves on the back end of this. Now, it's just telling you a big move's going to come because the volatility is squeezing. Same with the Bollinger Bands, but we've done a little bit of analysis on the Bollinger Bands and you almost use this as a moving average and being on the right side of it in the probability of what way it breaks. So there's a number of things that suggest you're going to get a big move on the break here. Again, just dropping down to the smaller term timeframes, we have very much stated that this is just another one of these, in the same way that it is a reverse of what these basically. And you can spot the difference here. This is my disappointment with bears because they are basically just listening to news and not following the charts. Or they are following the charts, but very selectively. And again, I want to stress this. Economists make the worst investors. And I know a lot of macro economists, and I can personally vouch for the fact that they're not typically good investors and get... we all get things wrong, but a lot wrong when it comes to actually putting their money on the theories that they have. So there's a possibility that you continue to, you might do something like that. And then you take this, ETF gets approved. We're in sort of September, boom, off you go. I'm unsure about the short term still, but I do think this market's going to result in upside. And I think many altcoins are actually setting up for that upside. Altcoins, we looked at Michael Burry's portfolio and this was interesting. It's basically, it looks like altcoins. It looks like he's holding a load of altcoins and they're all in this kind of stage one, moving into stage two breakout. Some better than others. We actually spoke about Coinbase yesterday, and it did exactly what we said. And we said this is still a buying opportunity. When Coinbase was up here, we said, okay, you've broken out of this range, you've done it with momentum, very confident. Your momentum's your volume dropped off. Sorry, and you've done it with volume. That's very inspiring as well. Mark my words, you'll get a break to Coinbase, and this is coming up to the 200 plus thing. Onto the Coinbase sort of news. Early activity on Coinbase's base chain shows promising signs. Coinbase are officially the first public company to have a blockchain. And actually, I think this is going to be a very positive thing to come, not just for Coinbase, but for the entire space, certainly when we figure out interoperability. And again, I think the Coinbase stock's going to do very well on the back end of it. You know, I'm personally a buyer of Coinbase stock, and I think it's going to continue to do exceptionally well with the crypto space. Again, something walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's very interesting. Just talking a bit about open interest. Open interest is a tool that you can kind of use almost like an RSI, maybe like an RSI. I don't know if that's the best thing. RSI is just a momentum-based oscillator. You want open interest to follow the price action and confirm it, just like you want the RSI or volume-based indicators to confirm the trend that you're in. Okay, so when you have OBV moving up, I don't know why I keep saying OBV. When you have open interest moving up, OP or OI, with the price, that's a very confirming sign. And you've seen a big jump in open interest. You've seen it slightly pull back, but not into new lows, and you'll likely see a big jump in it again. And this is the futures contract. So this is people betting on the price, basically. In the bear market, the same thing. And can sometimes lead price action. Had a big jump recently, which is interesting. Maybe this is on insider news and people positioning. Remember, open interest is both shorts and longs. So you need to take that into mind. But open interest, I think, is very interesting. Again, this is all happening around this 30K level. I think you're going to get a break, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. And again, moving on to the sort of ETF news, I don't think that the one on Sunday is going to get approved. I don't think it's likely at all. Although we'll see, because it is a refiling. And my only concern is that there's been multiple people that have basically came out and said, look, bearing in mind, this is the deadline. So you're going to see, likely after the market closes, because they love to do that, a decision maybe today, maybe Friday, which is today, I think. It's been a long week. I'm not sure this gets confirmed, to be honest. Although there's a big jump in open interest, which might signal that somebody knows something. I think likely all of these get confirmed at once, and then maybe they... Although these are only deadlines, so they could confirm them all earlier. I'm not sure. But watch out for it. If it does get confirmed, you know where you're going, and your volatility is now coming back, and the Bollinger Bands are breaking, and 30K is breaking, and everyone's getting bullish, blah, 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 blah. This is interesting. Kentucky approves a $4 million in electricity discount to local Bitcoin miners. Did anybody watch the Futurama, recent Futurama episode? I thought it was brilliant. I'm a crypto geek, basically, which is super sad, and it's very... I find it almost like my periphery of talking social interactions are getting smaller and smaller, because all I want to talk about is blockchain and crypto, and I think to most people it's still like, what's this magic somebody's talking about. UK economy, a bit of macro news. Post surprising second quarter growth as households kept spending. So we're seeing this across the board. Better than expected economic data. We've said this continuously. That actually, you know, data doesn't suggest that we're necessarily even in a recession right now, if you look at GDP as a barometer. And actually, it's all coming out better than expected. And this is the thing, right? So, we can swim against the tide for so long. And we've likened where we are to 2006, and 2008 will come eventually. That's when, using the swimming against the tide analogy, that's when the economy, being the swimmer, gets tired. And eventually the constraints that are put on it the tide washes it away. And that's how you end up in 2008. We're not there yet, I don't think. And we're absolutely assessing, based on how we're seeing everything set up, based on the macro, based on the micro, based on everything, that we see further upside, and actually new all-time highs potentially for Bitcoin before you have that 2008 moment. And it will catch everyone with their pants down. It could even coincide with a Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory. So watch out for that. But we'll keep you up to date on it on the channel. We'll hopefully catch it. We got out and mitigated. We shorted Luna, everything up here. And we've got historical evidence for that. We're not just one of the people that say they did. We actually have P&Ls, everything to show for it, and of course public calls. But hopefully we can catch whatever crash comes, but we'll see. We're hopeful. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you guys. Have a fantastic Friday. If you enjoyed the content, like, appreciate it, comment, don't forget to check out the Patreon, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks all for watching, guys. See you in the next.